Forge FC is ready for their upcoming match.
Simply stunning stuff. And finally, their goal. My word, what a rocket.
Now, let's get you up to date with Anthony Urciuoli and Match Day Preview on the Forge Audio Network.
Hey, Forge fans, it's the Forge Audio Network. I'm Anthony Urciuoli. This is Match Day Preview, Forge FC, Pacific FC. This is the matchup of the year for Forge FC with just a few matches remaining before the postseason. Forge Pacific, well, let's put it this way. The winner of this match will get sole possession of second place in the CPL with just 2 matches remaining. That is huge for several reasons. The most of which is that your path to a CPL final not only gets easier, you can decide whether you have home field advantage in the final. And let me explain. When the playoffs start, 1 will play 2. The winner of that match will go straight to the final and host that final. The loser goes to the semifinal, has a longer route, but still has an opportunity to get to the final. They may not host it, but either way, you finish in the top 2. So Cavalry will, unless something, I mean, mathematically, it's technically possible Cavalry will not finish in first place. But let's just say it's unlikely at this point. They have a 6-point lead over Pacific right now and a 7-point lead over Forge FC. And all 3 of those clubs have just 3 matches remaining. So it's going to be tough. But let's just, for the sake of this broadcast, Cavalry, let's say they finish first. Forge finishes second, let's say. Cavalry would host Forge, winner, straight to the CPL final. And they would host that final. It is an incredible opportunity. Finishing in the top 2, finishing first is great. You get the trophy, you get the award, you're the regular season champion, you get the CONCACAF spot, all those great things. But if that's not attainable, second place is where it's at. And that the difference between finishing second and finishing third is massive as far as your odds of going to and winning a championship. So that is what's at stake this weekend at Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, Saturday, 7:00 start. You can be there to witness this match live, forgefc.ca/tickets. And this is a match in which Forge, 1 point, forget it. A tie is, you still have a chance. Forge could still, pass Pacific. It's not the end of the world, but you're at home right near the end of the regular season. You have to be feeling great after that last match. 3-2 win at Valor. We're going to quickly talk about that in a sec because I loved that win so much. It was my favorite victory of the year. If you could have a favorite win of the season, that was my favorite. Forge's wins. But Forge has to be thinking 3 points here, especially with their home record not being up to par. They are the best away team in the CPL. At home, for whatever reason, the results just haven't been there. A lot of draws. Too many draws. No more draws. Forge has to go into this match thinking 3 points, which means, and we've seen Forge in these playoff-like matchups where it's very tight. Neither side wants to make a mistake. It's a little conservative, and that tentativeness, it results in draws. And we saw it when Forge played against Ottawa, when they played against Cavalry. No, that cannot be the expectation in this one. It has to be 3 points because Forge they really, really need, maybe the wrong word, but they really want. It's very important that they get that second spot. All right, let's go back to that match against Valor. It was on Sunday. It was an afternoon match. Forge overcame. They blew a 1-goal lead. Then they overcame a 1-goal deficit to tie it and then to win late. It was everything. The imperfection. I loved how imperfect that win was. These are the wins that matter. Forget those dominating whistle to whistle. That 4-0 win over York stands out of just dominant performances and results where you're just blowing teams out. Those are great. You want them here and there. You want them kind of sprinkled throughout your year because it's nice to know that you can dominate at times. Ultimately, though, are you going to see a match like that in the playoffs? I mean, well, you tell me. You've seen Forge now play in countless playoff matches, CONCACAF matches. Those just don't happen in big moments unless something goes horribly wrong for one side. So to win 3-2 after the adversity, Valor, the better team in the first half, better team early. Valor probably feels they should have had a better result in that one. They had the bulk of the possession. Forge was a little off early on. Just they looked just almost like they were just playing in molasses at times. And you kind of looked at this match early on and you were like, oh no, I mean, this is not a good sign going as we kind of head down the stretch and into the playoffs. And Valor, to their credit, I mean, they were desperate. They were mathematically still alive. They needed 3 points, though. It was do or die for Valor. So you're facing a very hungry squad. There was some lineup tweaks that had to be made because of the U21 minutes, and Forge had to do some catch up. So there was just a lot happening, and all those moving parts for them to get it together, to make the adjustments in the second half. Incredible job by the coaching staff. I mean, these when you look at matches like this, you go, okay, we can tell. We can see who the more experienced club is. We can see which of these two clubs can rise to the occasion in big moments. We can see which players rise to the occasion in big moments. This is where, as a coach, these are the games you want because you learn about your team in these games. You don't learn as much about your club when they're blowing teams out because you know that's not sustainable. And eventually you're going to have to win games where you're not at your best, where you give up the first goal or give up a lead. Calls don't go your way, and that happened in this one as well, where Tristan Henry had the ball in his hands and was kicked loose, and Valor scored. So I just loved it. I loved how imperfect that win was. You grind it out. It's just one of those, character games, and that's why I loved it so much. And that was such a big moment for them because we've talked about it. This stretch, you have Pacific. You're at Halifax, the most difficult stadium to play in. At Wanderers ground. And then you finish the season at home against Ottawa. Ottawa's in fourth right now, and they're, revving up for the playoffs as well. And Ottawa's always been a tough out for Forge. So you needed those 3 points at Valor. It was just paramount. They got it in the best way possible, in my opinion. And now that gives you that really kind of, this is what we needed to know going down this stretch. Because as fans, you had questions about this club this year because of some of the inconsistencies. And we are used to a level that is it's unheard of in any league anywhere in the world. 4 consecutive final appearances, winning 3 out of the 4. The expectations are so high. And we've been spoiled. We have been. And so that's led to some discomfort this season for fans. And at the end of the day, we got to see the Forge FC that we've come to expect show up in a big moment. Their big guns showed up at just the right time. Benny Banga was great. Tristan Borges, incredible off the bench. I mean, Becker is Becker. Pacius, Mr. Efficient. I mean, 4th all-time in CPL scoring. It feels like he just started in this league. So this is what we're looking for. Tristan Henry, can never forget Tristan Henry, because he played a gigantic role in that win, and he's the clean sheets leader. So love the win. Perfect building block heading into this match against Pacific. I mentioned Forge's home record. 12 matches so far this season at Tim Hortons Field. 3 wins, not good enough. 7 draws, okay, it's fine. It's nice to get points. You never want to, put your nose up at a point because this time of year, every point matters. But 1 out of the 3, not good enough on several occasions at home this year, but an opportunity this weekend. And 2 out of the last 3 matches are at home at Tim Hortons Field. So Forge with the 5th highest point total at home this year. And away from home, we mentioned Forge being the best away team this year. In 13 matches, they have 23 points. That's the best in the league. Pacific's the second best away team this year. They have 21 points. So Forge having their work cut out for them. Remember, Pacific had that red hot start to the season. It looked like they were kind of running away with it a little bit. And then they hit some bumps, which is what it's the way it goes. When you're in a league, a small league like this with, a handful of teams that they're so familiar with each other. These coaches have coached against each other so many times. The players all know each other. There are no secrets in this league. It's very difficult to catch a team off guard. And so you get this level of parity. It can sometimes be frustrating if it's your club, but ultimately this is what you're looking for out of any sports league anywhere. Every league does everything they can to get as much parity as possible. And in this case, CPL, they don't have to do anything. It's natural. It just happens this way. Head-to-head, regular season record, all Forge FC. All Forge, all day, almost all the time. They have played each other a total of 17 times in the regular season. Forge has 11 wins, 2 draws. They've lost only 4 times. And this season, so far, they've played each other 3 times, and Forge won 2 out of the 3. Interestingly enough, the home team has never won a game between these two sides this year. First match was out in BC, and Forge with a 1-0 win. Then they came back to Hamilton. Pacific won that one 1-0. Following match, they go to Pacific. Forge FC wins 2-0. Not only has a home side never this season not won any of the matches against these two clubs, the home side hasn't even scored a goal against the opposing club at home in these matchups. So hopefully, if you're a Forge fan, that trend does not continue this weekend at Tim Hortons Field. And here's what's interesting too. We have 2 high-scoring clubs. In Pacific's case, they are the highest-scoring club in the league. Forge, I believe they're 4th overall in scoring, but we know what they're capable of at any given time with the talent they have. And surprisingly, I just gave you the scores. In the last 5 matches between these two clubs, there have been less than 2.5 goals. So 2 or less in all those matchups, because when you get these two kind of elites, Pacific's been at the top of the table many times. Forge, we know what Forge has done. And you get these playoff-like atmospheres when they play each other. And because of that, they've been tight. So space is at a premium, offense is at a premium, and goals are at a premium. And in 5 straight matches, they've gone less than 3 goals total. And team streaks, Forge FC mentioned quite a few draws this year. They lead the league in draws, but they have not lost in 6 matches. So in 2.5 months, Forge has not lost a match. Pacific on a bit of a run themselves. They haven't lost in 4 matches, unbeaten. Pacific, though, they've gone 8 matches without a clean sheet. So some high scoring affairs. And this is what's interesting. Pacific in 5 out of their last 6 matchups. Both teams have scored a goal. So Pacific can score a lot, but they're giving up some goals as well, as they have not had a clean sheet in 8 straight matches. Average player ratings. I go by Sofa score. It's just what I can't even really give you. That's where I go for most of my CPL stats. So that's what we're going with. The average Sofa score player rating out of 10 all year. Kyle Becker has been at the top for most of the year, week after week after week, almost the entire year, actually. I have some bad news, Forge fans. He is second as of this week. Amon Salouf, the Pacific attacker, has surpassed Kyle Becker, his player rating. Salouf is 7.29, Becker is 7.27. So razor thin margin there. And both have a very clear lead over the rest. So we're going to see those 2 players going at it this weekend. I was going to say head-to-head. I don't know. Salouf usually plays down that left wing. Becker usually plays down the middle. We'll see how many times they collide. Definitely on more than one occasion. Salouf, by the way, is going to be a major talking point for the remainder of this broadcast. But right now, Saluf jumped over Becker barely, and the two will meet this weekend. Goal leaders, a pair of Forge players in the top 4. Ollie Bassett in the lead with 11. Taryn Campbell has 10. Meyer Bevan has 10 from from Cavalry. 4th on that list, Rubens Pacius. He has not had the minutes that he had last year. I called him Mr. Efficient. That's because we have it's science. The science says Rubes is the most efficient player in the CPL, making the most of his minutes. Scoring frequency in minutes, the leader this year, Pacius, averaging a goal every 145 minutes. That puts him in the lead. Taryn Campbell, by the way, in 3rd. So 2 Forge players in that top 3 and 2 attackers, 2 strikers, although we've seen Woobs kind of play a little more versatile this year, starting on the wing and then kind of drifting as a second striker. And big chances created this year. We have some Forge players on the list. We have 2 in the top 5, actually. Number 5, Kyle Becker. Number 3, Tristan Borges. Amon Saluf. There's that name again. He's 2nd this year in big chances created with 10. So, yeah, there's an idea of Forge having their work cut out for him. But we're going to get to that in a moment. Before we do, I have an announcement for you. For you and for your coworkers. Out of Office Cup. I need to tell you about the exciting new soccer tournament that is debuting this year. I think it is an incredible idea. I saw it. I said, this is amazing. Forge FC presenting the Out of Office Cup. Enter your work team and partake in a 5-on-5 soccer tournament at Tim Hortons Field, complete with a group stage, a knockout round. It's Friday, October 6th, between 12 and 4 p.m. You get the opportunity to meet some Forge players and coaches. They'll be involved. They'll be there as well. And you get to play on the hollowed turf and network with fellow businesses. Participating teams will receive club-level tickets to the regular season finale the following day against Atletico Ottawa at 4 o'clock. So enter your team. Get to play in a soccer tournament for 4 hours. A legitimate, again, group stage knockout round. There's going to be a trophy presentation at the end for the winner. And you get tickets to the game the next day. A 4 o'clock game, and it's the season finale against Atletico Ottawa. Judging by the way this season has gone, that season finale is probably going to mean a lot. And regardless, you get a ticket with your registration. To participate, to register a team, or just for more information, you're going to want to get a hold of someone. I'll give you his email and his phone number. Thomas Walker is the man you want to contact. Email address, twalker, all one word, twalker at forgefootball.club, twalker at forgefootball.club. Give him a call as well, 905-527-3674, extension 245. That's your 5v5 soccer tournament. The Out of Office Cup, even the name's amazing. I love the entire initiative. It's exciting. Okay. Back to the match day preview. Helping us break down the matchup this weekend, get a little more info on Pacific and what Forge is facing. And of course, we're going to talk Forge as well. Joining us, Benedict Rhodes. He's a writer and a regular contributor for CanPL.ca, and he hops on to the match day preview now. Okay, first off, Benedict, welcome back. A regular now in the match day preview. Always glad to have you.
Thanks for having me. I always look forward to this.
This Saturday, we have a battle for second place, which normally, that sounds like it's not that important, battle for second place. But with this new playoff system, second place could mean a direct path to hosting the CPL Final. And the difference between finishing second and third this year, it's massive.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, and every team wants to finish first, but second is a pretty huge opportunity as well for any team, like you mentioned. first place, second in sort of the semifinal, I guess if you want to call it that. The winner hosts the final, so Forge just hosts a couple finals now, and they're going to want to do that again, and especially after they've never won at home, so I think they're going to be keen to try and get to second place and try and host that final for sure.
Yeah, a lot at stake this weekend. And Pacifics, they've had an interesting year. Early on, it looked like they were kind of running away with the regular season title. There was a dip somewhere in the middle. Have they regained that early season form, or are they still kind of searching for it?
I think they're definitely finding it now. I think like you mentioned, there was a period where they just couldn't score goals no matter what they tried, and their whole season has been kind of scoring by committee. Ayman Salouf is I believe their leading goal scorer, and he's coming off the bench primarily, so he's not playing the majority of the minutes. It's just kind of an interesting situation, but I think as the season has gone on, I definitely think that they're starting to refine that form, and obviously scoring 4 goals on the road at York Lions Stadium. Another team, York, trying to make the playoffs as well, was a big statement, I think, from them.
Yeah, Salouf is interesting because you look at the chances created, and just looking at the numbers and the heat map and all the damage he does on that left side, you look at it and you say he's their guy, he's their creator. But you mentioned he's not playing full. He's coming on as a sub. What's going on there? Because the numbers kind of tell a different story that this is the guy for Pacific.
Yeah, I think what James Merriman, the Pacific head coach, has kind of found is that he's more effective maybe when he comes off the bench and plays 30 minutes and can pour everything into those 30 minutes, as opposed to if he was starting, maybe you have to spread that out over 60 or 70 minutes or maybe the full 90. So I think it's kind of an interesting idea. I think a lot of us are kind of surprised by it. Maybe that this guy, Ayman Salouf, is still late in the season, still coming off the bench, but he's having an MVP sort of caliber season, playing 30 minutes a game, which is incredible. Really, he's that effective.
What is it about the Dutch attacker? I mean, what makes him so effective?
He's pace. He's quick. He can beat defenders with the ball at his feet. He's such a smart player off the ball as well. He moves well. He knows where to be at the right times. And when you're a tired defender after playing 70 minutes, 60, 70 minutes, and this guy comes off the bench, he just has a sort of fear factor. You have to put 2 guys on him probably, and he still might beat you. And he can shoot from anywhere. He's confident. He knows he's very good, which is obviously something that defenders hate as well. And he's been producing all season long.
Yeah, he's a handful. Switching to Forge now, I loved their win over Valor on Sunday. It was ugly. It was the kind of, it was one of those, if you're a coach, you kind of learn about your squad in matches like that, where it's back and forth and things aren't quite going your way, and then your side just finds a way on the road. And that kind of win has been missing for Forge this season. And, can these wins like that, those gutsy efforts and playoff-like atmospheres, can those be, I don't want to say turning points, it's a little too dramatic, but can those be kind of catapults at key times in the season as you head to the playoffs?
Yeah, I think going to the playoffs, the most important thing is the results, right? Like, it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win, and that'll be obviously important in the playoffs itself. And I think finding ways to win is something that champions do, and we've seen from Forge over the years they've always been a team that's able to find a way to win. And maybe earlier in the season they don't win that game, maybe they lose that game, or they settle for a 2-2 draw. But I think it says a lot that they battled to the end, and Benny Badibanga, again, that free kick was incredible, and he's been a huge addition to them, and that signing is definitely paying off. And I think like you said, this is maybe not a turning point, but definitely something that Bobby Smidiotis can point to and say, look, we've done it before. We can beat teams in a sort of gritty, fierce way, I guess, when called upon.
Yeah, you mentioned Badibanga, and there's just something very natural in his skill set. He makes it look so easy. But having said that, he's still clearly building some chemistry with his teammates. He's jumping into a situation with guys. These guys on Forge, not only have they been playing together for the last few years, I mean, they've been playing together since they were kids, a lot of them. So they know each other so well. They're used to Bobby's system. Do you think there's enough time for Badibanga to build that chemistry with his teammates?
I think part of why he's seemed to be building chemistry well is because everyone else knows each other well. I think there's 18 players returned from last season for Forge or something like that. And when you have that much chemistry, I think having a new addition can be maybe intimidating for the new player, but at the same time, if everyone else knows each other, I think it might be easier for them to welcome him into the group rather than him need to force his way into the group. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's been something that has been kind of noticeable, and also Forge needed a player like him, someone who's just a ruthless, fearless attacker, and I think when you're playing well, the easiest way to get involved and get the trust of your teammates is to play well, and that's what he's been doing.
Before I let you go, the table now we aren't seeing quite the flips that we were seeing a few weeks ago, but we're seeing some padding with some leads, some things getting a little tighter. When you look at those 5, do you think we're finally set on a 5, or could there still be some movement in the last few weeks?
I think there's a game coming up between York United and Atletico Ottawa, and I think that game might come down to the winner of that game is the one that makes the playoffs. I think Forge is probably safe. Pacific and Calgary are in already. I think Halifax are probably in already, so I think not confirmed, but I think that they'll probably in a good enough position to be. And I think Ottawa and York is going to be. Ottawa have the lead at the moment, and I think they should be the front runners. But if York can beat them, their final game is away to last place Vancouver FC. So there's definitely an opportunity here for them to make a little run here late in this season, and that game will be crucial for both teams this season.
Yeah, exciting finish as teams cross the finish line, and regardless of how things finish, the playoffs, are setting up. It's just there's so much parity. Anyone could beat anyone. I think we're probably in for some shocks come postseason time. Benedict, thank you as always, and enjoy what should be a great week of soccer. All right, it's time for 3 keys to the match for Forge FC taking on Pacific this weekend at Tim Hortons Field. ForgeFC.ca/tickets. Key number 1, Stymie Salouf. The 22-year-old left-footed Dutch attacker, Amon Salouf. Listen, he's Pacific's most productive chance creator. By far. And those chances predominantly come from the left flank, meaning the right side of the Forge lineup, they're going to be busy. They have to take away his space. It's not just about defending one-on-one either. It's about layers. It's about help. If you need it, Forge did stymie Salouf back in July, where he turned the ball over 29 times and was accurate on just one of his 15 crosses. The result of that game, Forge won 2-0 at BC. Stymie Salouf. Key number 2 for Forge. Great shape. Pacific finally got the consistent direct attack they've been looking for last week, resulting in a 4-1 win at York. And Forge has to be prepared for a similar attacking style at Tim Hortons Field on Saturday. And it'll be necessary for Forge to play disciplined defensively, maintain their shape. You can be aggressive. You can attack heavy touches, but it has to be done without breaking down, showing gaps in your defensive structure. Great shape. Key number 3 for Forge FC. Active bodies in the box. Initially, I went with bodies in the box, but that wasn't enough because it's not just about bodies. Active bodies in the box. This Forge lineup has so much quality. Far too much for any team to handle defensively, consistently throughout a match. Attacking in numbers and getting bodies forward into the area, that's one thing. But there has to be purpose. There has to be movement once they get there. It's not enough to flood the box with orange shirts. Those shirts need to be active off the ball, force the defense to chase, dragging guys out of position, and attack the ball during services. Active bodies in the box. Those are your 3 keys. It's simple enough, right? That's it. You do those 3 things and you're going to win. This match, we cannot understate or overstate. This is the exact amount of stating we need to communicate how important this match is. It's a big one. Second place on the line, which means a super bye week in the playoffs that can give you a direct route to a final, not just a direct route, but direct route to hosting a CPL final. You want to finish top 2. Forge can take a major step forward in doing that with 3 points on Saturday, 7 o'clock against Pacific. Right after that match, regardless of the result, they're going to want to go to YouTube and open up that Facebook, YouTube, I said not Facebook. You want to open up that Forge FC YouTube channel, and I will be there live, delivering a match in review instant right after that final whistle. And hopefully for you and for all of us, we'll be talking about 3 points for Forge FC. Okay, listen, enjoy whatever you're doing. Just get it out of your system because it is almost game time. I will be there, and I hope to see you there.
Forge FC is prepared, and now you are informed. This has been Match Day Preview with Anthony Urciuoli on the Forge Audio Network. Subscribe on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.